give you a little introduction to the island, and you have the publicity circulated to you. And at this time, we'll hear from Mr. Charles Monroe, who will outline his information to you and show you the movie.
Thank you. I've been asked to say a few words about the trip to Hawaii. Thank you. And in conclusion, I'd like to say a little bit more. The thing that is interesting about this little sheet that you have here is that it's wrong. At least one word of it's wrong. That should read in the last large paragraph, it should read 3 luncheons, 2 dinners, tips, and taxes, not taxis. It makes a considerable difference. Tour price is $5.79. Now the extension, there is an extension to this tour, and the extension is to Kauai and to Hawaii, which is the Orchid Island, or the Big Island, or the Cattle Island, or the Volcano Island, whichever you prefer. It's called the Big Island because it's over twice as large as all the other islands combined. Also, we have some literature in the form of brochures over on the table, additional. If you would like to have that before you leave, just stop there and pick it up. There are a number of brochures. It leaves June 11th for 7 days, staying at the Ilikai, which is a very good hotel. It's very difficult to say too much about Hawaii. I was stationed in Hawaii in the Navy, so I'm a little spoiled. There is so much to do in Hawaii that, as it says in this little flyer, you're limited really only by your imagination. The islands, they're boast a population of over 500,000 people, half of whom are in Honolulu, Oahu, which is the 3rd largest island in the chain. The largest island is Hawaii, of course, and then the next is Kauai, and then 3rd is Oahu, which is the capital, as you all know. I'm trying to think of something that would convey to you. How many of you have been to Hawaii? Did you like it? So did I. The temperature, let me just say something about the temperature in Hawaii. It has an average year-round temperature of 76 degrees. The temperature of the water averages 72 degrees. It's very delightful to be swimming in Hawaii or surfing or just anything, and to come out of the water and to come into just a little bit warmer air. It rubs the tops off the goosebumps. It's very nice. It really is. But those of you who do go, be very careful because it doesn't take too long to get too much sun. And I was in the hospital for 3 days having too much sun. And I didn't even realize it until after I finished swimming, took a shower, my skin started itching, and I thought it was salt. And I went to a movie, and it started drawing up, and I walked out of the movie like this because I couldn't straighten my legs. It was very painful. There's going to be a movie in color with sound, we hope. And I'm sure you'll enjoy that. Without too much further ado, I'm going to just briefly go over the itinerary, which you do not have, but all of you will be supplied with them on request. You will go to Pearl Harbor, visiting Battleship Row, which of course is the famous or infamous disaster of Pearl Harbor. A very interesting story about that. I was at WFB one day with a friend of mine, and we were talking to a Japanese Baptist minister who had been a pilot on an aircraft carrier that was going to attack Pearl Harbor. And someone made the mistake of asking him, didn't he think it was pretty off to pull a sneak attack on Pearl Harbor? And he said, "Oh, well, it's not sneak attack. We know 3 months in advance." So it just goes to show it all depends on which way you're facing or the direction you're walking. Hawaii is a happy place. It's a fun place. On the beaches they have signs, and they're not the regular signs that you see, keep off the sand or whatever, no dogs. They say simply, have fun. That's all they say. They just have signs up that says have fun. And that's what they want you to do. Even the people who live there have adopted this philosophy, apparently, because some of these islands are partially famous or well known by the enthusiasm of the people who live there for the land itself. All these islands are different, and yet they're all the same in that you can have one lot of fun. I don't know much more to say about that. Do you have any questions about it that I might be able to answer? All right. If the movie is ready, or if this is where it comes, then I will give up for that. Thank you. The cards, just pass the cards to the side. Oh, I'm sorry. The cards, the little yellow cards, are for the drawing. There's going to be a drawing for 2 beach bags and a bottle of champagne, as well as just a request for information or reservations.
Word metropolis. Here is the heart of the bustling activity of a rapidly expanding economy. Iolani Palace, the only royal palace in the United States. Here, where royalty once kept house, the territorial government now sits. The governor in the king's bedroom, the representatives in the great throne room, and the Senate in the dining room. Another reminder of the days of royalty, this imposing statue of King Kamehameha the Great, first to unite all 7 of the Hawaiian Islands under one roof, symbolic of the proud tradition of old Hawaii. And in contrast, present-day Pearl Harbor carries on the proud tradition of the new Hawaii. Here, the ships and men of our Navy maintain an ever-alert defense, in constant sight of the grim reminder of that day which will live in infamy. Here lies the sunken hull of the battleship Yukon. Each day over the battleship Arizona, the flag is raised, paying perpetual homage to the memory of the more than 1,000 heroic men who rest forever beneath it. Driving around the island of Oahu, the sightseer comes upon sudden vistas of startling splendor. Unforgettable scenes of craggy rock and wave-swept shore. But perhaps the most famous view in Hawaii can be observed from a windy pass in the rugged mountain chain jutting down the center of the island. Here is the Nu'uanu Pali, a 1,000-foot shelf of sheer rock overlooking the lush windward side of the island. Here, King Kamehameha fought his last great battle. From this ledge, the last desperate defenders were forced to leap to death and oblivion. And even today, legend has it that the vengeful spirits of those doomed defenders keep watch here. It is said that they are lonely, and that there can be no rest for them unless they lure others to a similar fate. And so these vengeful spirits set snares for the unwary, tempting them too near the dangerous end. Some say the very voices of these spirits can be heard crying in the wind, "We need you, we need you." But hear these sparks. On the agenda of any Hawaiian visitor should be a trip from Oahu to the other islands, each of which has its own special charm. Seen from aloft, these islands offer panoramas of sea and shore, especially designed by nature to delight the eye. Sometimes half hidden by foamy clouds, they are never hidden by fog, for fog is unknown here. The islands are the summit of a range of lofty volcanic mountains. With poetic inspiration, Mark Twain called them the loveliest fleet of islands that lies anchored in him. Yet their loveliness is not entirely nature's handiwork. Pineapple fields planted by man imprint their ordered pattern on the land. Pineapple and sugarcane are the most important crops in the territory. Modern machine methods enable Hawaii to supply nearly 3/4 of the world's canned pineapple. It's not all plants in a field ripen at the same time. The picking of mature fruit is an almost continuous process, resulting in a staggering total of close to 30 million cases of pineapple product per year. The fresh fruit, too, is popular. And here an island expert deftly demonstrates a novel technique for preparing fresh pineapple. With the ends first cut away, the tough skin can be easily sliced. Another method, you'll find the eyes arranged in diagonal rows. They can be speedily removed by using diagonal cuts like this, at the same time producing a decorated end result. For sheer decorated ingenuity, it is difficult to surpass the Hawaiian hostess. Using the pineapple as the central motif, she combines native foods, flowers, and handicraft pieces to create a dazzling and colorful Epicurean display. In the often humorous language of the islands, hors d'oeuvres are called pupu. But no one who has ever sampled these delicious tidbits has been known to poo-poo the pupu. Poo-pooing market, on the other hand, is a lot easier. But here for once, he seems to have something. Yes, looks like he's really got him hooked. He must have hooked a Humuhumunukunukuhampa, which, in case you didn't know, is Hawaii's little fish with the big name. Baskets of dazzling flowers are not an uncommon sight in a land where orchids are sold by the half-ton. In Hawaii, the making and the wearing of the lei is an important part of the cultural tradition of a colorful people. Even more representative of the culture of the island is the lovely hula deck, without which no pictorial visit to these shores would be complete. It is the hand which tells the story of the hula, subtly weaving a spell of tropical magic as they soundlessly describe swaying palms, falling rains, or scented hints. And while the hands weave their delicate embroidery, the hips and feet mark out the patterned rhythm on which the dance is based. The hula is synonymous with grace, beauty, and youth. Sometimes extreme youth. These talented youngsters are already well schooled in the basic elements of the dance. Some of these accomplished devotees of tropical terpsichore already have 5 or 6 years of training behind them. Many island schools offer the hula as part of their actually are star pupils. Short on size, long on personality, these gay youngsters exemplify the very spirit of the Hawaiian hula. Like the hula, the coconut palm is a typical tropical sight in Hawaii. The natural beach boys have developed the climbing of these towering trees into a specialized and highly hazardous sport. Beneath the palms, barefoot football is also a special sport. Kicking the ball barefoot has long been routine for these tough-cushy Hawaiian athletes. But when the ball is missed, and Marvin's there to get it, well, you just know he'll want to try that barefoot thing. And you notice a nice hard coconut is dropped right next to that football. Relaxation. And Waikiki is just the place for it. Here you can really relax and stretch out. Yes, Waikiki Beach is perhaps the most famous stretching sand in the world. Open to all, even Marvin. Now, after losing out to fish, coconuts, and stone walls, it's time for a quiet, untroubled bask in the sun. And he's wise to the burning strength of that tropic sun. Cover-up's the word for safety. And so we leave him, long enough for a glimpse of another Hawaiian aquatic activity. The art of riding surfboards originated here, and here it has been brought to its peak of perfection. The skill and dexterity of these surfers is unsurpassed anywhere in the world. But even for an expert, it takes knack and know-how merely to remain upright on these slender shifting platforms. Every change of curling current, every twist of surging surf requires instant adjustment, ultra-delicate balance, or else. Not only must the rider be soft surfboard. So they carry on their carefree charter, happy in the excitement of foaming water and golden sun. 3 hours of snoozing in that golden sun, and Marvin's smart cover-up worked fine, for all the parts had been covered up. Does he detect the faint aroma of something burning? Next time he'll do his something in the moonlight. Offshore at Waikiki, the catamarans skim gracefully before the wind. These sleek twin-hulled craft are the newest of the entertainments with which Hawaii strives constantly to delight the visitor. The thrill of sailing one of these smooth speedsters in the dazzling setting of brilliant sky and shining water will remain a treasured memory to all who have experienced it. Lucky the sailor who can say he saw Diamond Head from the cockpit of a Waikiki catamaran. The winds of Waikiki have a special scent. Their clean, salt tang invigorates the spirit and also stimulates the appetite. And to appease that appetite, there is nothing in the world like roast pig, Hawaiian luau style. In preparation for the luau, or feast, the main course is ready by first placing heated rocks inside. As guests watch hungrily, the smoking delicacy is carried to the imu, or Hawaiian oven, where it will be covered and cooked to a succulent turn. And now, in a setting of tropical magnificence, in the languid note of Polynesian melodies, the guests are gathered to share the delights of a Hawaiian luau. For here, all races mingle happily, the native islander and the newcomer, resident and visitor, old and young. Here, colors run riot, and the sense of sight adds zest to the sense of taste, as fingers dip into the traditional dishes of lomi lomi, pua'a, and poi. Translation, salmon, pig, and poi. And here, even Marvin is safe at last. No knives to cut himself with, no chairs to fall from. The luau is all music and laughter, all gaiety and the feeling of youth.
secretary to call the roll by section. I would like to say how pleased we are that all of you are here this afternoon. We wish that this many would feel the urge to meet with us every other month. We know you can't, but we are glad you can make it occasion. So I'll ask Ms. Alford, our new secretary, if she will call the roll by section.
Administrators? If you'll say how many, then I can have it recorded. 25, thank you. EACP? General duty? Two. Occupational health? Three. Private duty? Ask them to count, put on. Public health?
At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Hudson, our new chaplain, if she will offer our opening prayer.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come into thy presence, asking that thou wilt be with us throughout the deliberations of this meeting, guide us and direct us in all that we do and say, that it may be done for the best of suffering humanity and to thy glory. Father, we thank you for all those who are here. We thank you for their lives as they minister to those who need them. We thank thee again for the many blessings to us. We ask continual direction and guidance in all that we do, and ask forgiveness of our sins in Jesus' name.
I'm sure all of you have received a copy of the meter, and in the meter was printed the minutes of our annual meeting. What is your wishes regarding the minutes that have been circulated? Been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved as circulated. Is there discussion or correction? Those in favor, please say aye. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. Minutes are approved as circulated. I have been asked to announce for the benefit of those of you who use the Timex watches that there is an Atlanta office where you may have your repairs without having to send your watch to the factory. The Building, Mr. Cooper, room 605 in Atlanta, for Timex repair. At this time, we'll have a report of the treasurer, Ms. May. This is the report first. The treasury report for October 1964 brought forward in September $1,536.89. Received 1964 membership dues 97.50. 1965 membership dues $958.75. AJM $6. Miscellaneous 76.90. Total $1,139.21. Total of the queue $2,676.10. Disbursement. Grant $63.50. Salary $363.07. Phone $50.89. Supplies $2.58. AJM $5. Taxes $232.02. GSA $67.50. Miscellaneous $10.30. Total $794.86. Clearing the bank $1,881.24. Checks out $304.06. Agreed bank statement $2,185.30. Government obligations to the government, withholding tax $44.60. Social Security $32.82. Total $75.42. State of Georgia withholding $1.92. Total $77.34. The checks out $67.50. $226.26. $10.30. Total $304.06. I move that we accept this report. That this report be placed on file. Those in favor, please say aye. Contrary, no. The nurse's professional register, financial reports. I picked up the wrong one. I've got September and I went to get October. Here's my hand first. I have some previous ending balance. This is for October 1964. $1,673.24. Membership dues and bill payments, $2,737.58. Total $4,410.82. Disbursement salary $1,502.13. Telephone service and advertising $48.55. Rent, Integrated Hotel, $125. Telephone service and advertising $40.55. Postmaster and stamps $53. District director $271.19. Flowers from Mildred Baggett $7.73. outstanding checks, $896.52. Were disbursements this month, $2,760. Total, $2,904.12. The balance in the bank was $4,410.82. And the expenditure was $2,904.12, leaving a balance of $1,506.07. Bank statement balance $1,834.17. Outstanding checks $327.47. True balance in bank $1,506.70. I move this report be accepted. Discussion. Who seconded this? Somebody write a read. I want to ask you questions. Why the postage?
Statement went out.
Statement.
Postage is a big item, very big
Yeah, but
item.
we paid for the first.
Well, she is telling you that they spent that much in sending them
Oh.
out. They're giving you the expenditures, itemized.
That's the only postage I know because we don't receive anything.
No, but
Does
postage,
that include the salaries too?
you talk to the treasurer about that, not in the postage part. She gave you the treasurer.
The whole thing doesn't include the salaries. That's the balance of the thing. I didn't hear you say salaries.
Salary, $1,502.
I think the salaries, the first figure. Well, First figure.
Uh-huh.
I didn't understand.
You want me to get through yet?
No, if you said salaries, I didn't hear it. Any other questions? Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. The report will be placed on the file for the audit. Now, we will listen to a report of the executive session.
Make mine very brief and give you the resume of your membership to date. 1,108 was 7 from 1964. And according to sections, you have 5 in the CES off section, 95 EACT section with 1 associate, 215 administrators with 2 associates, general duty 151 with 1 associate, occupational health 46, public health 125, and private duty 471 with 3 associates, making a total of 1,108, 7 associates. We have 2 applications pending for 1964 waiting on credentials. And we have 108 with 3 associates who have renewed for 1965. Books are up to date, and I invite you to visit your headquarters, and they're active there.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. We will hear from our secretary a resume of the executive board meeting that was held Tuesday.
We had a recommendation from the study committee of the registry. 1, that the annual registry dues be $50 with the understanding that an additional amount not to exceed $10 be assessed in September if absolutely necessary in order to maintain the registry for the physical year. 2, that there shall be no part-time registry dues. New graduates will be extended courtesy membership until state registration is validated. From the recommendation from the Executive Board of the 5th District, that all regular business meetings of the association be held at 4 p.m. instead of the alternate hours. 2, that Ms. Mace be conferred life membership in the 5th District Association.
What are your wishes regarding the first recommendation from the executive board to be filed? session be held at 4 o'clock instead of the alternate hours. Do we have a motion to accept his recommendation? Second. Ms. Al, thank you. Ms. Al, thank you. John, thank you. Is there discussion, Ms. Saunders?
I just wanted to say that, the occupational health is not going to be able to, be represented with that. Now, I don't know if there are any other sections that would like to take something off, but none of us will be able to.
I hear a lot of undercurrent. Would you like to speak out? If not, are you ready to speak as well?
Hospital staff nurses would not be able to, 7 to 3 nurses would not be able to get to a 4 o'clock meeting.
Any other comments?
Madam Chairman, I wonder if you would explain to us why the board made this recommendation. I'm sure they must have felt that and have some good reason.
The recommendation came to the board from prior to the section.
The original one was set for 30, so much the board one, they'll put the rule up for. Our original one said 4:30, so.
I think the reason for the 4 o'clock hour was so that married nurses could get home in time for, dinner, serving dinner at a reasonable hour to their families. This seems to be quite an excuse, for not attending meetings for some people.
The reason I say health
Well, public health does too, but we attend meetings on agency time. If we can.
Look at the channel,
Yes.
Captain Channel.
Well, this is what I'm told is the reason of ladies with families and young children.
Well, it's no time that everybody could get it.
I knew that the original motion was first off, like 4:30.
We can hear that here.
The original motion was saying the second motion, that was 4:30 in the afternoon. The board was saying the first floor was better, but here the discussion seems to think that that would be time enough, so I move that we go back to the original motion to 4:30 in the afternoon.
Madam Chairman, can we bring another motion when we have one before us?
The motion can be amended, Madam Chair.
Was it amended? I understood it was another motion amendment.
Since that was the original beginning, then brought to the floor, I would like to amend it to be 4:30 instead of 4.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Amendment to this, is there discussion on this? I should have one side. Yes.
Well, I'm looking, they're keeping 4, I'm like 4 o'clock.
Well, we'll have to vote this amendment first before we make the vote. Ms. Jones?
Madam Chairman, isn't one of the points in question not the 4 o'clock or 4:30 as much as the fact that this would eliminate the 7:30 meeting, which we have every other month?
That's
And I
right.
think that the question of the 4:30 is really not the big issue right now. The big issue is the 7:30 meeting. And of course, I think that the 7:30 meeting does not accommodate anyone else that could not come to a 4:30 meeting. And certainly the people that were 3 to 11 can't come to a 4:30 or
you ready to vote on the amendment to the motion? That the hour be 4:30 instead of 4, before we vote on the original motion. Hearing no further discussion, shall we vote on the amendment? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Would you please stand? The yes first. This is 4:30. You want your meeting held at 4:05. Now we're ready for the original motion, that all regular business meetings of the association be held at 4:30 instead of the alternate hours that we've been holding at 7:30 in the evening. Do you understand the motion? Is there further discussion? Questions and calls. All those in favor, please stand. There's just a shout of 2 negative votes, I believe the motion is carried. I think I should make the statement that our next motion requires a unanimous vote. That Ms. Lucy Mays be conferred life membership in the First District Association.
I move
Will the nature of the please stand? Those opposing this recommendation from the executive board. Moved by Ms. Bragg, seconded Ms. Saunders. Will you please stand? I believe it's unanimous. Madam President, may I speak? Yes. Oh. I guess I should thank you people, but it makes me feel mighty old to be put as a honorary member, and I would far rather pay my dues. Knowing you, Miss Mason, we would expect that.
May I say that we have some visitors who couldn't vote here,
Yes,
in the
and
event
I-
anyone wondered about them.
We'll move on then to our reports of the standing committee. Mr. Hammett is out of town. I believe we can delay our program till the end of the business session that she has arranged for. Mr. Atkins, do you have a printing report?
Just 1,500 copies of the meter and envelopes.
Madam Chairman,
Madam Chairman, why, is there no vote on the other recommendations for the executive board? Part-time legislative?
That's information for you.
That's just for information. This was taken care of in the vote. Yes, Ms. Hudson.
I believe there was another recommendation, it concerns, the new training act of 1964. Did you intend to bring that up on the legislature?
That, I thought we would, Ms. Hudson. Since you made your recommendation, I thought this might be included in your report. We will now hear from Ms. Barfield, Chairman of the Bylaws Committee. And I believe all of you have received copies of the meeting with the changes that you printed. We were sorry they didn't get to you before Monday, but it was just an impossible situation. To help you better understand, I hope, the proposals that the bylaws committee have made, I am going to take liberty and take time, and I'm sorry, I'm sure you'd rather be planning to go to Hawaii and learn to do the hula. But I'm going to take time to sort of go over the old bylaws which you have on hand, I hope. You have your copies. And you do have the district meeting with the proposals in it where there are changes, but I'm going to point out those areas where there are no proposed changes and those areas where there are editorial changes only. The bylaws committee accepted recommendations from this body and from the section and met to consider those recommendations and submit to you the following proposals. We propose to, I'm sorry, I've got too much paper here. I said now to, from recommendations that we received from this body and from the various sections, that all references to alumni associations be deleted from the bylaws. That editorial changes be made to conform with the American Nurses Association model form for bylaws for district nurses associations, including in this wording executive board, which would be changed to the board of directors. The proposed changes were submitted to the board for approval at the board meeting before this last one and have been submitted to the GFNA Bylaws Committee. We have received their recommendations, approval of those that we submitted, with some additional recommendations which I shall read to you. They make the suggestion that we make some minor changes, or rather minor changes, in Article 3 of our present bylaws, currently entitled Membership, and they suggest that we entitle this Members and Associates. That Section 3 of Article 3, that this should be a separate article entitled Disciplinary Action and Rights of Members and Associates. Then this, of course, would entail renumbering the subsequent articles in the bylaws. And I'm going over the recommendations of the total, and then we'll go through the total to give you some little clarification on it. In Article 8 of the present bylaws, of which would be new Article 9, they make the suggestion, they recommend to us that Section 1 be changed to add the chairman of the registry committee be an ex officio member of the board of directors without vote. They state having an official registry really necessitates the chairman to present the problems and report to the board in person. Then in our present Article 12, on new number 13, meetings, substitute the word business for exercise. That is, it currently reads order of exercise, and they're suggesting that we make it the order of business. Then there were some changes that were due if we eliminate the Alumni Association as the first level of membership. And this would mean that there would be a change or a revision in the order of business. They also suggested that we entitle miscellaneous or as simply unfinished or new business, which would take care of any miscellaneous business. This is in the order of business for the meetings, both annual and regular. Then they recommended in Article 14 of the old bylaws, which would be new Article 15 of the new bylaws, standing committees, that Section 10 be revised to include really a breakdown of the membership of the registry committee. Under Section 10, A would read, the committee shall consist of at least 9 members, 1/3 of whom shall be appointed by the executive board of this district each year to serve for a period of 3 years. The chairman of the committee shall be a registered professional private duty nurse actively engaged in nursing. A majority of the nurses on the committee shall be private duty nurses. The private duty nurse section shall be asked to submit a list of private duty nurse members to the executive board as a guide for their selection. The chairman of the private duty nurses section shall be appointed as a member of this committee. Registry of District Nurses Association personnel shall not be appointed to serve on this committee. And then this would entail a renumbering of the following items in that section. Wherever the words nurses professional registry are used in your bylaws, change to the words professional nurses registry. It is the nurses that are professional and not the registry. So if you will bear with me for a minute, a moment, I will go as hurriedly as I possibly can. In our old bylaws, Article 1 remains unchanged, no change at all. Article 2, no change in the old bylaws. In Article 3, we would change this to be entitled Members and Associates. The Bylaws Committee proposed that this recommendation be adopted. In Section 1 of Article 3, there is no change. No proposed change. In Section 2 of Article 3, there is no proposed change. In Section 3, we do propose that all members and associates shall be nurses who are graduates of state accredited schools of professional nursing, each of whom has been granted a license to practice in Georgia, except as provided in Section 6 of this article, as a registered nurse, and does not have a license under revocation for professional misconduct in any state. This brings us in conformity with the proposed model bylaws of A&A. B of the same Section 3, we propose no change. And no change in any of the other items under Section 3, other than editorial, which we asked that we might do, making executive board wherever it may be, and I don't remember right offhand whether it occurred in this one or not, but if it did occur, worded executive board, that we change it to board of directors and be consistent throughout the bylaws. Section 4, no change. Section 5, no change. Section 6, no change. And Section 7, we did change to add a member or associate, because we currently say a member. But since this article is entitled Members and Associates, this needed to be added to this section. Section 8, the same, a member or associate of another state nurses association removed. Section 9, no change. Article 4 is the new article that is inserted in accordance with the recommendation from the State GSNA Committee on Bylaws. This entitled Disciplinary Action and Rights of Members and Associates. And this is an area of conformity with the proposed model bylaws from A&A. Article 1, Section 1 should read, members and associates shall be subject to reprimand, censure, suspension, or expulsion by a 2/3 vote of the Board of Directors for violation of the Code of Professional Nurses as established by the American Nurses Association, or for violations of the bylaws of the American Nurses Association, the Georgia State Nurses Association, or this association. No such action shall be taken against a member or associate until such member or associate shall have been served with written specific charges, giving a reasonable time to prepare any defense and affording full and fair hearing. Suspension or expulsion from this association shall be certified by this association to the Georgia State Nurses Association and the American Nurses Association. Members or associates reprimanded, censured, suspended, or expelled under the provisions of this Act may within 30 days after notification of such action request the Board of Directors of the Georgia State Nurses Association to review any question or law or procedure involved therein. Section 2, members or associates suspended or expelled under the provisions of this article shall be eligible for reinstatement upon application approved by 2/3 vote of the Board of Directors. Then Article 4, old Article 4 becomes Article 5, entitled Officers and Committee on Nominations. In Section 1 of what is now new Article 5, or proposed Article 5, there is no change. In Section 2 of the proposed Article 5, there is no change. Article 6 was renumbered in accordance, and old Article 5 becomes Article 6. There were no changes in any of the sections of Article 6, nominations and election of officers, unless there were, as I said, some editorial changes making Executive Board read Board of Directors. Article 7 is old Article 6, duties of officers. There were no changes recommended, proposed in old Article 6, which would now be Article 7, in any of the sections of this article. Article 8 is renumbered. Old Article 7 now becomes Article 8, entitled Dues, and there were no proposed changes. There were only editorial changes in this article. Article 9, the Board of Directors. Article 9, of course, is old Article 8, and it's entitled Board of Directors, and there were editorial changes because, again, it was entitled Executive Board, and we did change it to be consistent throughout Board of Directors. There was a change in Section 1, which deleted the Alumni Association as the first level of organization in the membership for the Board of Directors. In Section 2, there were only editorial changes. Section 3, no change, and Section 4, no change other than editorial changes.
Madam Chairman, may I say something at this point?
Yes, ma'am?
I believe that the deletion pertains to the alumni president on the board and not the first level of membership. That was voted on a year ago. That the district becomes the first level of membership. That's already been voted on a year ago. And it has to, the change, I believe, has to do with removing the alumni president from the board, constitutional board.
I stand corrected, but the recommendation read that we delete reference to the Alumni Association as board, as the first level. This was the recommendation that we received. Remember right on here? Which now becomes Article 12, and not up on the rules. Section 1, there were no changes proposed in this entire article. In Article 12, which now becomes Article 13, meetings, entitled Meetings. The Section 1, there was no change. The annual meeting of this association shall be held on second Thursday in the month of September at the time and place decided upon by the association. In Section 2, there is the proposal that we omit the July meeting. And then Section 2 would read, Section 2, regular meeting shall be held on the second Thursday in January, March, May, and November, at the time and place decided upon by the association. By word of explanation, I might say that the recommendation came to the bylaws committee that we delete both the January and the July meetings. But the Board of Directors voted to reinstate or to continue holding the meeting in January, and that we delete the July meeting only. And this is the proposal of the bylaws committee that we make to you today. Section 3, The only changes were the omission of reference to the Alumni Association. In section 4 of Article 13, we changed to the order of business rather than the order of exercise as proposed by our state USMA Committee on Bylaws, and made editorial changes throughout the order of business and renumbered the items as they proposed. Also changed miscellaneous or old business to read unfinished business, and we renumbered as we deleted the report of the Alumni Association in the order of business for both the business and the annual meeting. There was a sort of a juggling around for the order of business for the annual meeting, and if you would like, I think it would be clearer if I read the order of business that is proposed for the annual meeting. I think you will see that the continuity perhaps is contained better, or held to better in this proposal than it had been, in the proposal that was original. A, call to order. B, roll call. Approving of C, and I won't read the letter, if you will bear with me. Approving of the minutes of this association as circulated. Report of the Committee on Nominations. Appointment of tellers by the President. Election of officers. This was the change, as you see, that we have the report of the Committee on Nominations, the election and appointment of tellers, and election of officers early in the meeting, so that the tellers then can take the votes and go out and counting them while the rest of the business goes on. Then the address of the President, the annual report of the Secretary, the annual report of the Treasurer, the annual report of the Executive Secretary, report of and recommendations from the Board of Directors, annual report of standing committees, annual report of sections, annual report of special committees, unfinished business, new business, report of tellers, declaration of election of officers by the President, installation of new officers by the President, and adjournment. Old Article 13 was renumbered and making it Article 14, entitled Quorum, and the only changes that were made in this were editorial and references to the Alumni Association were deleted. Old Article 14 becomes Article 15, entitled Standing Committees. Section 1 had no changes other than editorial. Section 2 had no changes other than editorial with reference to the Board of Directors. And then, in order to make it consistent, I think I'm right on this. I don't have the others right before me, but we made this read Committee on throughout the standing committees. Committee on Registry, and Committee on Bylaws, and Committee on Finance, because this was consistent with good procedure. Section 3, there is no change other than editorial. Section 4, Section 5, is no change. Section 6, the only change, editorial. That was the Committee on Legislation, and with reference to the Board of Directors in lieu of Executive Board. On down to Section 10. Section 10, the proposed Section 10 will read as proposed by the Bylaws Committee and by the State GSMA Bylaws Committee. A, the Committee on Registry shall consist of at least 9 members, 1/3 of whom shall be appointed by the Board of Directors of this district each year to serve for a period of 3 years. B, the chairman of the committee shall be a registered professional private duty nurse actively engaged in nursing. C, yes,
And the point of information there, I asked, chairman of this committee, private duty nurse, actively engaged in nursing. Well, now, I would feel that private duty nurse should go into another section, that there should be a reappointment to the substitute put in from the state law.
To go
another section, she'd be disqualified.
Well, that's why we,
So a new chairman would have to be elected.
Still have to be a private
Whoever
duty
is
nurse.
chairman of the section would be whoever is chairman of the registry, the committee on registry, I'm having to correct myself, would be a private duty nurse, but they would have to, make a provision for this in the section, in the section rule. And parliamentarian may correct it on this, he is telling me. C of section 10, a majority of the nurses on this committee shall be private duty nurses. The private duty nurses section shall be asked to submit a list of private duty nurse members to the board of directors as a guide for their selection. D, the chairman of the private duty nurses section shall be appointed as a member of this committee. E, registry or district nurses association personnel shall not be appointed to serve on this committee. F, the direct authority and legal responsibility for administration of the registry or registry shall rest in the board of directors of this association. It shall delegate responsibility and definite duties of management covering the operation of the professional nurses registry to the committee on registry, which shall be responsible to the board of directors for approval of all phases of its operation. And may I interrupt this to say too, I failed to tell you that these recommendations for the committee on registry include the recommendations of a study committee of this association, in addition to those recommendations that we received from the GSNA committee on bylaws. G, the committee on registry shall be responsible for monthly reports of the activities of the professional nurses registry being made in quadruplet, 2 of which shall be sent to GSNA headquarters, 1 copy to be sent to the 5th district headquarters, and 4 copies shall be kept in the files of the professional nurses registry. Quarterly reports shall be submitted to the American Nurses Association, with copies kept in the district headquarters and the registry. H, the committee on registry shall meet monthly, or when called by the chairman, for transaction of the business of the professional nurses registry. This committee shall submit a monthly report to the board of directors and a written report at regular meetings of this district association as provided by the board of directors. These reports to be kept on file in the district headquarters. I, the committee on registry, shall submit nominations to the board of directors for appointments to the director of registries and her assistant or assistant. Shall outline duties of the registrar and policies for registry operations to be approved by the board of directors and in accordance with the minimum standards approved by the Georgia State Nurses Association. J, there shall be an advisory committee to the committee on registry. The members shall include the director of nursing service of each hospital participant, a member representing medical professions, and a member representing private duty nurses to be appointed annually by the board of directors. The purpose of this committee shall be to serve in an advisory capacity to the committee on registry in meeting problems associated with the effective administration of professional nurses registry. The chairman, vice chairman, or representative of the advisory committee shall attend all meetings of the committee on registry. Section 11, the committee on bylaws shall be composed. I will not change that one, that's away from the committee on registry. There are no proposed changes in the committee on bylaws other than any editorial. There were no changes proposed from section 12, the committee on official publications other than editorial. Article 15 becomes Article 16, representation, and the renumbering is all that took place in Articles 16, 17, 18, and 19. Those articles entitled Representation, Fiscal Year, Official Organs, and Parliamentary Authority. There were no changes other than editorial in the final article, which is now becomes Article 20 on amendments. There are no proposed changes for this. Madam President, this completes the report of the bylaws committee.
not gonna take a bow, but I will say that I have some lovely copies of the proposed changes as they read, if you would be interested in picking up a copy, and, Ms. Atkins will have them, if you would like a copy.
I feel that in Article 16, in Open 10, Mrs. Taylor, the old private university hospital, that C, under this, R, should be, revised. The, private use section is to submit names. I feel that every hospital should have a representative, and the individual section. Now, the private use section should say, I'm the winner, I say, I suppose, if there's only 2 or 3 nurses, and then we just go to the door, and elect. Well, that wouldn't be quite fair, say Joe, and Piedmont, along. I feel that we should have a representative from each hospital, and the individual, administrator, and grade 1 and 2.
How can the individual nurse be recognized when she is not even recognized in by GSMA, and we do not have a charge as a associate alumni? Should be given. It is entirely possible that the notice of changes contained in the September issue of the district meter would suffice to meet the requirements. But I think the safer course is to delay consideration of the change until there has been no question about the required notice. Madam President, I would like to amend the other motion that was made, if it's in order. I'd like to amend it. We do not vote on any bylaws until the next annual meeting. Was it second to your amendment? Is there discussion?
Madam Chairman, I sat out there with the tellers at the last annual meeting, I believe till almost 7 o'clock or something like that. If we add to the election of officers, the amendment of the bylaws, we'll have to come for a whole day. And I do feel that in order to carry on our business under the suggested bylaws of ANA and GSMA, and as this body recommended, we ought to take action on them sooner. And therefore, I'm talking against the amendment for the original motion.
Thank you, Ms.
Madam Chair, I think our bylaws say that we can change our bylaws at any regular meeting. It doesn't say annual.
That's right.
They can wait for a whole
correct. But this is delayed, she's pointing out that we cannot appoint a registry committee until these are acted on. Ms. Burnett.
I would just like to speak in support of the last two speakers.
There was a hand up here,
Madam Chairman, as a point of information, do not our present bylaws provide for a registry committee and the composition of the registry committee? Since we are operating under our present bylaws, would not the executive board already have appointed a registry committee according to our present bylaws? I mean, this is just a point of information. I mean, I would think that the organization has been in existence for this many years, and that we do have bylaws that we're supposed to be functioning under now.
I believe there was some change in the, registry committee composition. Maybe not the bylaws changed.
What was that, if the board, the board of members proposed that, an investigation, but they didn't propose to change the bylaws?
Second motion.
I wonder if we should refer that to the parliamentarian for clarification. I would move.
The question's been called, Ms. Jones. I believe we're ready for the amendment. Would you state the amendment again?
I move that we,
Would you write this, please?
not, vote on these bylaws until the next annual meeting.
And who seconded this motion? Is there? The question has been called, so we need to vote on the amendment. Those in favor, will you please stand, delaying? Those opposing the amendment.
How many did you have, four?
34 against 54. The amendment is law. 34 for, 54 against. We're back to the original motion. And the question's been moved. Who stated that? Ms. Webb, would you state your motion?
I move that the, voting on the bylaws be deferred until the January, meeting.
And Dr. you second. All in favor of this motion, would you please stand?
I'm not voting, I'm just preparing.
Those opposed, please stand. Thank you, Sir. This, motion is carried 65 to 30 again. This motion is carried, and, we will plan to vote on this report at our January meeting.
When you get to the legislation.
Do we have a report on the legislation?
I would like to, move that the bylaws committee be directed to, incorporate into Article 15, Section C, to be voted on at January meeting.
May I answer for that? Mrs. Watt gave that to us and said that no changes could be made. It would have to start all over with and go back to the state headquarters, come back, and there could be no changes made.
I believe this is the statement, at the head of the proposed revisions bylaws, vote may be delayed if changed.
Is this ruled out of order yet?
I'm afraid to do it at this time.
Madam President, what was spending an awful lot of money very foolishly there, you couldn't vote on it this month?
We put you on notice here that we may not be able to act on it. In the, maybe delayed.
Ms. Watt made the statement at Jekyll immediately following the executive board meeting. The first thing she told me, she says, now here it is, you must not change one word of it. It has to go exactly like it is, and if any changes are made, then you've got to start all over again, go back to the state, come back to the district, go back. Those were her words verbatim.
Madam Chairman, I believe that, possibly her reference was to the board, since we do not have the exact wording of her ruling. I've never known any meeting where bylaws could not be amended. And if.
Without going through GSNA?
Read the last paragraph.
Without going to GSNA?
Because what you had in the time past is certainly unacceptable.
Read the last paragraph on the very last
The
page.
statement says if any change is proposed, they will go again to the state bylaws committee through the proper channel, and final vote by the 5th district be delayed until announced.
Well, I think I must have had reference to the board, but of course it's not stipulated, so therefore, but I do know that, the body has the voting body is the highest authority in the association, and they certainly have the authority to make any changes in the bylaws they wish, but so long as it's not contrary to the bylaws of AMA or GS. And, so I
on is what also, after the meter went out and we mailed her one immediately for the benefit of those.
There's no point in having a meeting to vote on if we've got papers just like we are. That doesn't make any, that doesn't make any.
Ms. Hudson, when the meter came out, we mailed her a copy, and we also called her because the manual through the registry states all the way through nurses' professional registry, rather than the way she changed it around professional nurses. And we asked her to read it and to let us know if anything was not printed correctly, as she said, because the one statement was no word change. We will get a clarification from her.
We asked for clarification, as you know, at the convention.
Well, I
Get
know.
this procedure in writing. I hope we get it before we do this again. Can we go on then to the legislative committee? And I believe Ms. Litchfield wasn't at the board meeting. Do you have a report?
I'm not the new chairman, I know.
Well, the old chairman holds,
Oh.
the new ones are appointed.
Excuse me, I didn't know whether you had appointed or not.
No, we haven't appointed any committee.
Well, we had no meeting and, but some things had happened. The state scholarships, were voted favorably upon, at the polls, which pleased us all very well. And then the federal government has passed a number of, bills, and there was a meeting here in Atlanta held under the auspices of the Georgia Hospital Association, which was very well attended, and Ms. Love, Agnes Love, a representative from Public Health Service, from the Division of Nursing, came down to help interpret these multiple laws. The construction grant went through, which gives considerable amount of money, makes a considerable amount of money available for constructing educational facilities for hospitals, schools of nursing, for collegiate schools of nursing, and what have you. These applications are made to the Division of Nursing. Then there are grants that are for instruction, and there are traineeship grants renewed for registered nurses who wish to go on and complete their work. There are grants to hospital schools for payment for students on federal grants. These are students above the numbers that the hospital would have as of certain dates. Then there are also loans for students in collegiate and in diploma programs with a forgiveness clause in it. The student may borrow, and either the hospital, not the hospital, but the schools, whether hospital schools or collegiate schools, may request these grants of money, and then the student applies to the school for the loan. And these loans can be forgiven up to 60% of the loan. I think that includes all of them. It's quite a bundle of money coming. I think it's something like $83 million the first year, and then it goes up each successive year. So I think out of the last federal legislature, we got our share.
Getting one on both sides.
That's both ways. We have to vacate at 6:30. Ms. Hudson, would you like to make your motion that you made?
Would you read the motion, please,
We have a motion by Ms. Hudson at the board meeting that the Board of Directors of 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association request the National Advisory Council on nurses training to make available traineeships for professional nurses to all regular professional nurses who wish to prepare for teaching, administration, and supervisory positions for the entire time required to complete requirements for the baccalaureate degree. Did I read it right?
Yes.
This was voted on by the board. Did you vote to?
I
discussion?
Madam Chairman, could that be reread? I'm sorry, I don't get the end sentence.
The Board of Directors of the 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association requests the National Advisory Council on Nurses Training to make available traineeship for professional nurses to all registered professional nurses who wish to prepare for teaching, administration, and supervisory positions for the entire time required to complete requirements for the baccalaureate degree. This is in support of this.
I understand now, speaking that may, the provisions of the Act of the National Council currently recommends that only 12 months may be at the baccalaureate level. And we feel that we need teachers and administrators and supervisors so that if a nurse is a registered professional nurse, we should go ahead and complete her requirements for a degree, that she be financed during the entire time that is needed to complete the requirements for the baccalaureate degree, which in some cases might go up to 2.5 and 3 years. And so we felt that if we don't know that we would get it by a manner of means, but certainly we do need teachers and we do need people to go ahead and complete their educational requirements in the state. And we just felt that if we could get these funds for any registered professional nurse who wishes to complete her requirements for a degree, baccalaureate degree, that it would certainly be helpful to have these funds made available to us. And that was the intent of the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Is there further discussion?
Well, I just like to say that, really, we have these supervisors, that's what I know.
I'm wondering, on the heels of the Ditchfield report, if funds are allocated for scholarships, if this would not be adequate to keep it within the state, instead of federal scale.
Ms. Hudson has put her finger on one of the real problems for the registered nurse going on for her degree, because it does usually take about 2 years, and she gets the traineeship for 1 year. However, I am questioning in my own mind if the government has kind of taken care of us. I don't know, Ms. Hudson. You know, with what they've done at this past, in this past legislature. I do feel that the National Education Defense Loans and the new Training Act of 1964 loan that could be used for this first year or part of this first year, which is about what it is, may or may not meet this need. I don't know, Ms. Hudson. You see, there is a 60% forgiveness clause on those
Now,
loans.
that's for students currently enrolled in the schools of nursing. I'm talking about
No.
registered.
No,
Well, I have the.
well, I did too. I was reading them before I left. I'm not talking about the hospital program. I'm talking about the loan fund, the Training Act loan fund. It gives preference to students entering the School of Nursing for the first time, but I specifically asked this question of Ms. Love, and she said that registered nurses were eligible for that loan. All I have is what she said, because I questioned the word preference.
It isn't spelled out, so in the
Yeah.
regulation.
No, it wasn't spelled out in the fact sheet. It said preference, but Ms. Love said that when a
through college behind me and a year and a half to go, that I would like to commend Ms. Dana Hudson for her motion, and also say that there should be no question of this. It can't be a hindrance, and it certainly could be a help. I've struggled through 1 year, and I have another half year to go before I'm eligible for the traineeship. It certainly would have solved a lot of my problems if I had somebody to help.
There's no question about the need. I mean, I've been working with you. I've been working with these registered nurses. There's no question of the need.
Another thing I would like to say,
Question.
excuse me, another thing I would like to say, and it was pointed out to this body that, teachers and instructors are not trained on the baccalaureate program. Well, I would just like to ask one question. Where do they begin? I hope someday to be a future teacher or instructor, and I certainly can't do anything until I have my BS degree, and any help I could get would certainly be appreciated.
I heard to shorten this discussion. Thank you. We have a question. The question has been called. We must be out of this room in 1 minute.